To the people of Baltimore and the demonstrators across America, I heard your call for no justice, no peace. Your peace is sincerely needed as I work to deliver justice on behalf of this young man. To those that are angry, hurt, or have their own experiences of injustice at the hands of police officers, I urge you to channel the energy peacefully as we prosecute this case. I have heard your calls for no justice, no peace. However, your peace is sincerely needed as I work to deliver justice on behalf of Freddie Gray.
All right, again, that was not a Saturday Night Live bit back in May 1st. That was actually Marilyn Mosby joining us now on the Malzberg panel to discuss what she said today. Just moments ago, Brad Hirschfield, author of You Don't Have to Be Wrong for Me to Be Right, president of CLAL, and also the wisdomdaily.com, thewisdomdaily.com. And Adam Thompson, who is full of wisdom, senior partner and owner of the law offices of Adam M. Thompson, and of course, the syndicated talk show host. All right, Adam, let's start with you. Marilyn Mosby gave a press conference. It was very short, to the point. She took no questions. She looked very, angry and defiant. And she said that the information has changed. She took that information before a grand jury, and the grand jury indicted all 6 officers in the death of Freddie Gray. The second-degree depraved heart murder stands. And what's changed, apparently, is there doesn't seem to be anything involving that they shouldn't have arrested him in the first place, that the knife was legal. She seems to have gone the other way, and apparently she would think that she's admitting that she was wrong on that.
Well, she's trying to do damage control. Certainly, she doesn't want to have conflicting stories go before a grand jury. So she threw out the whole business about the knife, and she's making this just strictly about, I guess, the force used by the police officers, whether the way that they arrested him was excessive or proper. And if it was excessive, and that's what the allegations here is going to be, that in the process of handcuffing him and the way they handled him and slamming him, I believe they're going to argue head first into the car. That's what broke his neck and led to all his injuries and eventually his death. It's interesting because there's also already some conflict out there because there was supposedly some kind of screw or bolt inside the car. And when he wasn't shackled down or secured in his seat, they gave him what's known as the bumpy ride to the station house, and he's thrown around like this. And at some point, I thought an argument was made that his head struck the back of that bolt, and that's what might have caused his injuries or led to contribute to his death. So this even seems to be different now, because I think she's placing all the activity and the actual cause of the death before he even gets into the police wagon to be taken back for the bumpy ride.
Brad,
so we just have to see what develops.
Brad, why do you think she went to the grand jury?
I understand what you're asking. Why did she go to the grand jury?
She didn't have to go to the grand jury.
Okay. No, I think that's simply because I think everything here, the whole world's watching this case. The whole world should be watching this case. I think she wants to meticulously go through as much of the process out front and publicly as she can. I think you're probably right, Steve. One of the reasons she stepped back, and I think Adam made the same point, stepped back from the charges related to the knife, is because the truth is that could go either way. She doesn't want to have that fight. She understands that she doesn't want to have that fight, and she's going to try and do this as cleanly and publicly as possible. And I actually think that's to everyone's benefit, both the people who think she's doing a great job and, frankly, the people who think she's doing a terrible job because she is biased. Let it be out there. Let's take it step by step. If anything, I think what we know at this point is the following. In the same way that there was a rush to judgment, all kinds of things in the first days after the events unfolded, there's probably going to be some of that now. The best thing to do is let this play out in the court. Let's watch it. Let's see what gets admitted to evidence and what actually we can take into thinking of our assessment.
Adam, to convince a grand jury to indict on second-degree depraved heart murder, she would have had to have, convince the grand jurors that the driver knew that Freddie Gray was in distress and that he knew he could die and didn't help him?
Well, it's very interesting. We don't know, because the grand jury is secretive, what her exact presentation of facts were that she's relying on. Again, that's why in the first comment I made, it's very important to know if she's going to argue that he sustained the injuries prior to getting into the police van, it's in the police van, or a combination. But what's interesting here is, and it's got to be said, it is so easy to indict anyone.
Right, a ham sandwich, right.
Back on these things, right? And you look, Eric Gardner the police officers in that case weren't indicted, and that was on video, and people were outraged. Like, we saw the video. Those cops should have been indicted, but they weren't. It shows you the control that a prosecutor has in a grand jury room, because they can give whatever evidence they want to the grand jury or not give to the grand jury.
Brad, final word.
Yeah, I think you're right. You can't indict a ham sandwich. Again, the plea here needs to be, no pun intended, don't rush to judgment. Let the facts come in and figure this one out step by step.
All right, we'll be back, folks. Don't go away. Or not. Aaron Klein is next on the Steve Malzberg Show, senior reporter for WorldNet Daily. We'll talk a lot more about Benghazi and my interview with Mike Morrell yesterday. Stay tuned.